I am Ruthina Sejay. You're watching New Vision TV News. We broadcast from the New Vision newsroom. We are going to look at the news around Uganda, the news around East Africa and the world, and later in the bulletin, we'll take a look at our daily Pearl of Africa series and also a special report. We start off with the news around Uganda, where we look at stories making headlines across the country. We start from the capital, Kampala. Kampala Parent School is anxiously waiting for the fresh kid who reports tomorrow to begin his 5-year tenure at the Naguru Best Institution. Fresh kid, whose real name is Patrick Senyonjo, picked his school uniform last week and will mix freely with peers. Sometimes last year, he caused excitement when he paid a brief visit to the school. Pupils ran out of the class chanting "Fresh Kid." Many children are looking forward to interact with him tomorrow. The baby singer, who came to fame after youth minister Nsibambi banned his night shows, will join primary 2 at the prestigious Kampala Parent School after he was awarded a scholarship by Rapalaria Foundation. Details emerging from the school say he performed well in the interview to be admitted. He scored 90% in mathematics and 87% in English. He was allocated to Leopard House, where he is likely to be an asset in the upcoming music performance. News from Wakiso district. Now, malaria, fever and fatigue are some of the major illnesses registered among the pilgrims from Gulu Archdiocese walking to NAMUGONGO. A team of medical experts who joined to follow the pilgrims are administering treatment to the sick. The over 100 Catholic pilgrims who started their 330-kilometer journey to Kampala on May 16th have reached Matuga, where they held Mass. Yesterday, they were joined by Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Jacobo Olanya, who appreciated the zeal and determination they have exhibited to work for their faith.
Just basically fatigue. That is the main problem. But we have also issues of malaria. We have registered very many, almost half, and now we have a child there who is having severe malaria.
The people who are able to walk the full length for their faith, what can we do? The minimum we can do as believers, what can we do? We're not saying walk into fire, we're not saying get hanged, we're not saying get speared like the primal martyrs. No, we're just saying, what can you do for your faith? How can your faith inspire you to change the lives of people? How can your faith inspire you to change your own life and your situations? How can your faith guide you?
The Archdiocese of Gulu was chosen by the Uganda Episcopal Conference to animate this year's celebrations of Uganda Martyrs' Day. Let's move on to Buvuma district. Now, Buvuma woman member of parliament, Jennifer Nantume Egunyu, has been castigated for having caused the death of her voter, Sadiq Chizito. Sheikh Ali Sadiq of Buvuma said it was unfortunate to find a leader who went to the voters asking for votes without any security, again going back with guns around her. He was speaking to the mourners who attended Chizito's burial at Mpanga village in Namayengo district on Monday. Chizito, 36 years, a resident of Chizimba landing site in Bugaya sub-county Buvuma district, was shot in the mouth and died instantly by Nantume's bodyguard Martin Bema. Bema is a police officer attached to the very important police unit assigned to guard MPs and other top government officials. Chizito was shot dead on Sunday morning following a protest by a group of the youth who did not want Nantume on their island. The youth were blaming the legislator for having taken long without visiting them. Moving on to Soroti district, after members of parliament rewarded themselves with allowances to the tune of 102 billion shillings, the councillors in Soroti have also picked a leaf. During the budget approval meeting on Monday, councillors of Gweri sub-county approved over 10 million shillings for buying sheep for themselves in the financial 2019 2020. The council also approved an increase on their pay from 500,000 shillings to 1 million shillings. A councillor who used to earn 20,000 shillings per sitting will now earn 40,000 shillings per sitting. Peter Ebau, the Gweli LC3 chairperson, warned the council that their decision to allot funds for themselves will directly affect them during elections, but promised to implement the council resolutions. News coming in from Iganga District. Several residents of Iganga District are counting losses after roadworks to expand community roads left numerous gardens flattened. Roadside gardens in Rau, Nawansige, Busu and Intinda village gardens have crops mangled with compacted soil. In certain areas, farmlands have been dug up to create drainage channels for the maram roots. Sisi Nachidia, a resident of Rau village, lamented that the weekend exercise left her granite's garden messed up just a month to the harvest time. She was alone and was expecting a bumper harvest to pay it off. Amosubi, a farmer at Busu Parish, wondered why the roadworks had not been done earlier during the dry spell when gardens had no crops. Abdallah Baluya, the Blangu LC3 chairperson, explained that the local government had allocated 26 million shillings to open 34 kilometers of community roads. He advised residents to look at the bigger picture of good roads, which will ease transportation of their produce. In Arua district, leaders have embarked on land title registration for landowners to protect their land for better use ahead of the operationalization of Arua as a city. Ayuyu County, that becomes the second division in Arua City, together with Arua Central Division, largely have land, some of which untitled. Cabinet approved the creation of 9 cities, 5 of which will become operational effective July 1st, 2020. These cities include Arua, Gulu, Jinja, Fort Porto, and Mbara, which will be elevated from municipal status. The others are Hoima and Mbala, which will become operational in 2021. Bernard Atiku, the Member of Parliament of Ayivu County, says he will rally people to get land titles for land ahead of the city and become landlords whose land value is high, unprotected from land grabbers. We close off the news around Uganda from Mbara district, where Chairman Captain John Bosco Bamtaraki and Mbara Municipality Member of Parliament Michael Tusime engaged Mayor Robert Kachebez and his councillors in a closed-door meeting to end the bickering in the council. The meeting was held at Mbara Sports Club near Golf Course grounds in Boma, Mbara town. Some councillors are accusing Kachebez of being incompetent. At one time, they even tried to censor him, accusing him of not involving them in some matters and failure to implement council resolutions. Over 30 councillors petitioned the district chairperson to intervene after they boycotted the council meeting on May 22nd, 2019 that was intended to pass the budget for financial year 2019-2020. And that was the news around Uganda. Let us now move on to the news around East Africa. Now, Kenya Airways CEO Sebastian Mikosi will be stepping down at the end of 2019 ahead of the end of his contract. This was announced in a letter sent to the struggling airlines board. The letter did not give reason but stated that Mikosi made a personal decision to shorten his contract term with effect December 31st. Let's move down to Tanzania. According to a new report, Tanzania is ranked as a country with the highest number of marijuana abusers in East Africa. UK's New Frontier data places Tanzania 5th in Africa, with 3.6 million of its citizens said to take marijuana. In East Africa, Tanzania leads the 2 other nations, Kenya with 3.3 million consumers and ranked 6th in Africa, while Uganda with 2.6 million in the 8th position in Africa. Let's move on to South Sudan. A statement from the Defense Forces has confirmed resumption of attacks on the positions of the National Salvation Front of Thomas Cirillo in Central Equatorial Region. The statement, government troops backed the local militias, launched an operation to hunt NAS forces around Lainya and Wandruba of Central Equatoria last week. We close the news around East Africa from Burundi, where government has continued defying the Supreme Court ruling against seize of assets belonging to opposition activists in exile. The ruling applies to 32 politicians, rights campaigners and journalists living abroad, and also 9 military officers jailed in Burundi over a 2015 coup attempt. That is it for the news around East Africa. We now look at the news around the world. We start from Malawi, where Peter Mutharika will be sworn in as president of Malawi for a second time on Tuesday after a contentious election marred by allegations of fraud and vote rigging. The Malawi Electoral Commission announced Monday that Mutharika, who heads the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, had narrowly won last week's vote after an injunction barring the release of the results was lifted. Mutharika of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party won 38.5% against former evangelist Lazarus Chakwera of the Malawi Progressive Party on 35.41%, a gap of just 159,000 votes. News from Brazil, as investigation into the Sunday clash between inmates in Manaus jail, which resulted in 15 dead, was going on. 40 prisoners have been found dead in 4 jails. It is common for fights inmates to spread across prisons in Brazil. Drug gangs who have control on jails are responsible for the clashes. Prisoners are held to different gangs carrying their rivalry to jail. In 2017, more than 100 prisoners were killed during the 3 weeks of violence in several jails. Authorities say the Sunday clash left 15 inmates killed by shocking and stabs. And news coming in from France. France is stepping up efforts to stop Iraq executing 4 French citizens convicted of fighting alongside the Islamic State group. An Iraqi court on Sunday sentenced 3 French nationals to death for joining the Islamic State group, and the 4th was also condemned to death on Monday. The 4 have 30 days to appeal. Let's move on to Nigeria. On the eve of his swearing-in ceremony, Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has vowed to continue the crackdown against corrupt officials. Buhari, 76 years, was re-elected in February and is due to be sworn in into office for his second 4-year term tomorrow. He came to power in 2015 on a promise to tackle epidemic corruption, but critics have accused him of a political witch hunt, as many of those targeted are opposition members. Let's move on to the United States. The United States on Tuesday walked out of the UN's conference on disarmament as Venezuela assumed the body's rotating presidency, with Washington's envoy insisting he would not endure sessions led by a rogue state. Wood walked out immediately after Venezuela's ambassador to the United Nations in Geneva, Jorge Valero, began addressing the conference to begin his presidency. The U.S., along with more than 50 other states, have recognized Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido as acting president. We end the news around the world from Austria. An Austrian man who kidnapped and raped a British backpacker during a Halloween road trip hostage ordeal has been sentenced to 10 years in prison. According to Austria's national broadcaster, Marcus Martin pleaded guilty to 3 counts of rape and 1 on deprivation of liberty crimes he committed in October last year. He met the then 22-year-old victim at a party in January 2017 and forced her on a 1,600-kilometer road trip on which she was repeatedly beaten and raped. That is it for the news around the world.